Live from Melbourne, this is 7's Afternoon News with Mike Amor.
Good afternoon. We begin with the miracle rescue of Cleo Smith, the 4-year-old girl who disappeared on a family camping trip in WA. For 18 days, police searched, describing the operation as like looking for a needle in a haystack. But this morning, the news the nation had been hoping for. Cleo had been found alive, locked inside a house not far from the family home. This afternoon, Cleo is back in the arms of her parents and police are questioning a suspect arrested near the scene. This is him. His name is Terence Kelly. But that interrogation ended abruptly a short time ago. Kelly has been rushed to hospital with head injuries sustained in his holding cell. We're waiting for a live police press conference. But first, let's go to Ben Downey in Carnarvon.
Good afternoon. Well, I'm here at the centre of the police operation right now in Carnarvon, outside the home where police raided early this morning and pulled Cleo safe and well. Now it's turned from a home very much into a crime scene and forensic investigation. Even though the overwhelming police operation for the past 3 weeks has achieved such a miraculous result in finding Cleo, work here is very much just starting. We've had detectives walking in and out all morning and into the early afternoon. Every single item inside this home is now going to become part of the crucial body of evidence if police are going to pursue a successful conviction against Cleo's abductor, that 36-year-old Carnarvon man who's now being questioned and we understand actually been taken to hospital after his time in the watch house. Anything inside there, any movements he's made, statements from witnesses and neighbours that have been given to police this morning will all become a crucial part of the investigation going forward. For 19 days, Cleo Smith's parents never gave up hope of hearing this.
The Western Australian Police Force rescued Cleo Smith.
Police smashed their way into a locked house in Carnarvon around 1 o'clock this morning, local time.
One of the officers picked her up into his arms and asked her, "What's your name?" She said, "My name is Cleo."
Now, she's back in her parents' arms. Her mother Ellie posting on social media, "Our family is whole again."
Today is a really special day and I'm just so proud. You know, I've got to be the proudest police commissioner in the world.
The 4-year-old was found not far from where she went missing in Carnarvon. One man has been arrested. Neighbours are in shock.
We got a shock ourselves that it was him. Yeah. Saw him in the Woolworths there buying Kimbies and that, but we didn't click on who it was, or what he was buying it for.
Cleo had been missing since October 16, having disappeared from the tent she was sleeping in with her parents at a popular camping site north of Carnarvon. 3 weeks of scouring bushland north and south of the region. A plea for help extended nationwide. Even her family home was searched for any clues. The big question, where was little Cleo?
It's an outcome that, we hope for. You don't always get what you hope for, but hope is there. We dared to hope, and we did.
Her parents were convinced the 4-year-old had been abducted. This was Ellie and Jake last month.
We miss you, and we want you home.
Today, now, back with their little girl. Well, WA Police Commissioner Chris Dawson has recently touched down here in Carnarvon with the WA Police Minister Paul Papalia. Tomorrow they'll be joined by WA Premier Mark McGowan, but right now we're waiting for an update.
OK, we're going to take you to a live police press conference in WA where they are going to reveal the latest on the
senior
rescue.
investigating officer for this task force, Detective Inspector Quinton Flatman. Detective Superintendent Rod Wild is the head of the task force. You'll all know Inspector John Munday, who led the land search and commanded the crime scene out at the blowholes. And Detective Senior Sergeant Cameron Blaine of the Homicide Squad was one of the 4 officers that actually went in and rescued this girl. What a great day. We now have returned Cleo to her loving parents. It's a wonderful day for this little girl and her loving family. It is a really special day for Western Australia. Indeed, I know the nation is rejoicing over the fact that we've been able to conduct this operation and we never gave up hope. And I know that Cleo's parents never gave up hope, and it is just such a wonderful opportunity for me to say thank you. But before I say any more words, can I allow Minister Paul Papalia to say a few words?
Thanks, Commissioner. If you feel the need to thank God today, thank God for the Western Australian Police Force. Cleo's rescue wasn't the result of an accidental sighting or a suspicious event. It was the result of hard police grind. From the moment this incident began, the Western Australian Police Force conducted themselves to the absolute highest level of professionalism. Western Australians are already incredibly proud of our police force for having kept them the safest place on the globe through this pandemic. Now they have added reason to be incredibly proud of the Western Australian Police Force for delivering Cleo from this nightmare and bringing a little bit of sunshine into an otherwise dark world. And Chris.
Thanks, Minister. Look, to Ellie and Jake and the family, we're so thankful. And for those of you that have been hoping, wishing and praying that we were able to find little Cleo alive and give her back to you in your arms, it is just a wonderful, wonderful day. And it's a day we all hope for. Look, I'm just so proud of the team that I have behind me, but there's 140 in this team. Many of them are still at work here right now, and there's a whole bunch of them back in Perth. We will be working through this for the next week or two at least. There's much more work yet to be done, but I'm just the proudest police commissioner I think in the world at the moment. To the team that have worked tirelessly, police officers and analysts, our forensic officers, the people behind the scenes, our media team, they've gelled together from day one here. From the moment Inspector John Munday and the uniformed officers declared a protected forensic scene within minutes of arrival, that commenced an enormous operation to the outcome that was achieved at about 1 a.m. this morning, when 4 officers went in and broke down the door and found little Cleo in a room. And as you can see, she's alive, she's safe, and she's back with Mum and Dad. We said we wouldn't give up, we said we would keep on searching, and we dared to hope. I'd like to extend my gratitude also to Premier Mark McGowan and Minister Paul Papalia. The state government have stood behind the Western Australian Police Force. We're not wanting for resources. They immediately offered a $1 million reward. But beyond the state government, I really want to thank not only the immediate family, the town of Carnarvon stood up. We had volunteers, we had the SES, we had the Army, we had private companies. Everyone wanted to achieve what actually some never thought would happen. And I really want to extend my thanks to all who've been either searching, those that have sent well wishes. The police station here is full of flowers and chocolates already. Not that these blokes need it, but at the same time, I just really want to reinforce my thanks to all of Western Australia, indeed Australia, and I've already had messages across the country from police and indeed those across the world. Look, I extend my thanks also to the media. You've kept this story running and front of mind for everyone, and that's really important because we needed to get these messages out, and I thank you for keeping the hope of finding Cleo alive a real and a present story which we now can all celebrate in terms of this. To the people of Western Australia, you are our eyes and ears. You gave us lots of information. It's still coming in, and we, appreciate what you've already provided for us and what is yet still to come. We have one 36-year-old man in custody. He is assisting police with our inquiries at the moment. I'm not going to elaborate further in terms of that man, other than saying he's a local man from Carnarvon, and we will be having something further to say later. I once again want to reinforce my thanks to a great team, assisted by a great community. The town of Carnarvon can stand strong, and as a community I do appeal to the community to come together as you have. Yes, we have one man in custody, but that is not the town of Carnarvon. You know, that is one person. And I want the town of Carnarvon and everyone else to come together as a community as we move forward, and we can rejoice that this little girl's been found, but we need to move forward as a community as well. So with those few words, thank you for your assistance, and I'll invite Rod Wild to say a few words.
Thanks. Excuse me. Thank you, Commissioner. I also would like to thank the community. It's been a fantastic effort. From day one, we were seeking assistance. We had over 1,000 calls from the community, from people around Western Australia providing information. So we're extremely grateful for that. Also the media, businesses, everyone that got on board. We couldn't have done this without you. To my team as well, thank you. It was just a fantastic effort. People worked basically without sleep from the first occurrence when this happened 17, 18 days ago. They were here and they worked tirelessly. They never gave up hope, and we got the result that we're all so grateful for. Take questions if you like.
Rod, as the chief investigator in this case, when you got that early morning phone call this morning and you saw that body cam vision with the little girl saying, "My name is Cleo," what were your emotions?
Oh, it was amazing. Yeah, it was. It was very emotional. To see that, it's something, like I said, we hoped for. We obviously had real concerns for Cleo's welfare, and as time passed by, they grew worse. So to see that, it was just amazing. It was an amazing outcome.
And statistically, it doesn't often turn out like this. So what were the emotions of the team when you thought we found it?
Look, the same thing, I think. Look, people were in tears. It's fair to say it was just an amazing outcome. We hoped, we kept working with that belief that we could get there, we could find Cleo. And look, I don't know what happened, but we were lucky and we did.
How much did that modern mobile phone data have to do with the arrest?
Look, that's part of the investigation. It's certainly that we collected a lot of data. That's what we do in these types of investigations. It's a thorough investigation. You would have seen officers going around to every CCTV location within Carnarvon, within 1,000 kilometres. So that's the level of detail you go to in these investigations. We collected that information, then we have to analyse, and then we look for what we're looking for, and we were lucky we found it.
Was there a tip-off that led you to that house?
It was the hard work. It was the hard work of the team that did it, analysing all of that information, gathering it all, working through it and finding that needle in that haystack.
There is a rumour among locals that the police were made aware of her whereabouts after some local kids actually broke into the house. Is there any truth to that?
No, that's not true.
Is there a tip-off, Rod, that police were acting on?
No, there wasn't. So, like I say, it was really the analysis, all the work of the team, going through that to get us where we are today.
So that was just a piece of the puzzle, was it? Like, you know, the CCTV, the phone data, it all added up?
Yeah, like I said, I think in the early days, it was a methodical investigation. We had to gather all of this information, all of this evidence, put it all together, paint the picture of what happened, interview all the witnesses, speak to everyone who was out there so we could understand exactly what happened. Then it's a matter of piecing it through, working out who was where at the wrong time, and that's what's happened.
When did this man become a suspect? Was it yesterday?
It was only yesterday. Yep.
How's mum and dad?
They're ecstatic, obviously. They got their little girl back.
That Cleo picture says so much, but can you tell us a bit more about how she's going?
Look, I wasn't there this morning. The team were there, but she's a beautiful little girl.
Rod, was the 36-year-old at the house when officers arrived?
No, look, I can't go into that at this time.
Can you tell us whether or not you believe Cleo was at that house for the entire time that she's been missing?
Again, that's something that we're investigating.
Do you think he was acting alone, Rod?
We're not. There's no other person that we suspect being involved.
At this stage, can you confirm that she was definitely abducted from the campsite?
I can confirm that, yes.
There was a car that you were looking for so long, the car sort of turning south towards Carnarvon. Was it that car?
Look, investigations are still ongoing in relation to that, but I'd say that's a crucial piece of information as well.
Can you confirm it was indeed a sedan?
We can't at this time, but like I say, it's a piece of information we're still investigating. So,
was this, do you think, planned or opportunistic?
Look, It appears as if it was opportunistic.
So there's no link between the man in custody and Cleo and Cleo's family in any way?
No.
Was this man on that list of known sex offenders that the police were initially working with?
No, he wasn't.
There is some suggestion from locals that this man perhaps maybe... People have discussed the possibility of him being unhealthily interested in children before. Were police aware of that?
Look, we hadn't received any of that information.
Was he known to local police at all?
Look, I can't go into that, obviously, given the legal proceedings.
Can you tell us when Cleo's parents found out the good news?
Look, it was shortly after we found her. So shortly afterwards, some of our officers had probably the best job in the world of taking her back to her parents.
Did they know in advance?
Go to hospital straight from there?
OK, we're going to
we
leave
took her to
that
hospital,
live
obviously,
update on the discovery rescue of Cleo Smith, the 4-year-old girl who'd been missing for 18 days. It's worth showing the new photo of Cleo taken in hospital this morning after her rescue, waving, smiling. She appears to be tucking in to an icy pole. She's now back in the arms of her very, very relieved family. A 36-year-old local man is in custody. Police say it was an opportunistic crime, that he had no link to the family. Of course, we'll have more on this developing story later in the 4 o'clock news and coming up at 7 News at 6. Let's go to the other news of the day. And Tim Smith has confirmed he won't resign from Parliament and is instead begging for forgiveness over his drunken crash. The MP for Kew has also refused to say if opposition leader Matthew Guy told him not to run at the next election. Here's state political reporter Chanel Vella.
Appearing publicly for the first time since he crashed his car into a Hawthorn home while more than double over the legal blood alcohol limit, Tim Smith first apologised for his behaviour.
I profoundly messed up in a life-altering way. I can't take that back, and I'm not trying to.
But when asked if he had been explicitly told by Matthew Guy not to run for pre-selection, Mr Smith couldn't definitively answer the question.
He's asked me to reflect on my career.
Did he ask you to resign?
He certainly asked me to reflect.
Mr Smith continued to dodge that question for more than 40 minutes. That's despite Mr Guy's office texting journalists during the press conference to say he had been directly told. Mr Smith did, however, say he is not mentally unwell, that he'd simply had too much to drink and made a stupid mistake. The Premier and Deputy Premier were out today spruiking education, but they too were asked about Mr Smith.
That's entirely a matter for Mr Smith, Mr Guy, the Liberal Party. Oh, and let's not forget Victoria Police.
His leader has been unequivocal. His leader wants him out. And what we're seeing in the Liberal Party, once again, example after example after example, this is a Liberal Party at war with itself.
Tim Smith says he'll spend the next 9 days reflecting on his position before pre-selection closes on November 12.
The runaway Melbourne Cup victory of Very Elegant has left veteran trainer Chris Waller in tears. He was in Sydney and couldn't join in last night's wild celebrations, but was deeply moved by the mare's historic run. Nick McCallum reports.
It was a tale of two cities and contrasting celebrations. In Melbourne, for the jockey and owners, a wild party. In Sydney, for the trainer, it was a time of reflection and emotion. The Queen of the Turf, Very Elegant, used the cup as a breakfast bowl. But her trainer, still in Sydney, was far less nonchalant about the victory.
Yeah, you look after them and they really look after you, and they're an amazing animal to work with.
300 to go. The mighty mare moves up to incentivise and races on by.
He admits initially he did not want the mare to run because of her handicap.
The turf has raced clear, 3 lengths incentivise, and it's Very Elegant. 10 Group 1s, and now the greatest of them all.
I didn't think she could carry 57 kilos.
But even now, no regrets about not coming to Melbourne to watch the race.
Watching it with my family is something I'll remember for the rest of my life, and no, not one single regret.
Among the sights he missed, jockey James McDonald dancing and singing on the bar of a city restaurant.
To capitalise and win a Melbourne Cup is just a dream come true.
Full of praise for the horse now.
She's a warrior. She just loves a dogfight, and the harder the race, the better she goes.
But their first race together 4 years ago was a disaster.
She missed the kick, reefed hard and took off, and she was actually a certainty beaten, to be fair, so we've both horse and rider come a long way.
The horse's part owner said this was the start of Melbourne's comeback from lockdowns, using his victory to attack the government.
Since last night, city was decimated and desecrated by someone who doesn't deserve to govern.
But for the trainer, it was all about humility.
I'm proud of the sport, and yeah, I'd love to be a good role model and an ambassador to the sport.
Chris Waller says the 6-year-old mare will race again in autumn, but is unlikely to defend her Melbourne Cup title next year.
Up next, 9 people injured in a collision on the Western Ring Road. Plus, France claims it's been stabbed in the back as the submarine Stoush heats up. And some of Melbourne's most loved buildings finally reopen their doors. Back soon across Victoria and Tasmania. The Prime Minister has just landed in Dubai to meet with Australian troops on his way home from the Glasgow Climate Summit. As Rob Scott reports, it comes as Scott Morrison faces criticism from a former PM over the axed French sub-deal.
Halfway home after a busy week abroad, Scott Morrison used a refuelling stop to meet and mingle with Australian troops stationed in the Middle East. Soldiers who were instrumental in the evacuation of more than 4,000 people from Afghanistan.
This was the site of our base to run what was the largest ever airlift that we've ever been involved in as a country. This was an extraordinary operation.
A friendly reception, making a nice change of pace for the Prime Minister after a bruising week on the international stage, in which he was labelled a liar by the French President over the axed submarine deal. A dressing down made worse by former Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull, who was also at the Glasgow Climate Summit.
Oh, he's lied to me on many occasions. Scott has always had a reputation for telling lies.
The French ambassador piling on the pressure here in Canberra today, describing Scott Morrison's actions as a breach of trust and intentional deceit.
The way this Australian government decided to turn its back on our solemn and far-reaching partnership is just out of this world. This decision had been deliberately kept secret for months, even years.
These contracts are about giving Australia the capability we need so the men and women who serve in our defence forces can get on and do their job. It's important now that we all just move on, frankly.
So Scott Morrison's keen to move on, but clearly it will take a lot more time for the French to get over this.
A van carrying 9 people has flipped at Tullamarine after colliding with another car. Emergency services were called to the intersection of Western Ring Road and the Tullamarine Freeway just after 10 p.m. Thankfully, nobody was in the van was seriously hurt. The driver of the other vehicle is speaking with police. Melbourne is roaring back to life with some of the city's most loved buildings opening their doors today. Melina Saris joins us now, and Mel, it comes as our COVID cases dip to their lowest level in 2 months.
That's right, Mike. Some of these Melbourne institutions have been closed for more than 300 days since the start of the pandemic. The NGV welcomed fully vaccinated visitors back today. The gallery spent 374 days closed during the pandemic, so there has been plenty of time for a refresh, some new paint and some new acquisitions and some new exhibitions as well. The State Library also opened its doors. For many of those who were queuing to get in, the reopening has come just in time so they can start studying for their final university exams.
To be able to let people back into the building is just incredible. It's a space where you can get access to all of the world's best knowledge, but it's also a space where you can connect with others, where you can contemplate, and it's right in the heart of Melbourne. It's fabulous, and it was so lovely to see the queues outside the front of the building before we opened.
In other good news, case numbers are slowly declining. 941 new cases today, the lowest since late September. The state's hospitalisations and ICU numbers have also fallen. Vaccination-wise, 92.7% of people over 16 years old have had their first jab and 82.2% are now fully vaccinated. We're all looking forward to this next step. All restrictions for vaccinated Victorians are now predicted to be dropped when we hit our 90% target in 17 days' time. Mike?
Yeah, can't wait, Mel. Thank you. Coming up next, arrests after a wild night at St Kilda Beach. Plus, Melbourne nurses lose their fight against the vaccine mandate. And later, a curious parrot catches a bird's eye view of traffic. Stay with us right here on The Scene. There's been wild clashes at St Kilda Beach overnight as police broke up groups of partygoers after a day of drinking in the sun. 2 men have been arrested over an attempted carjacking nearby, and a 14-year-old girl is in custody after a fight. Cassie Zervos has more.
Violence erupted along the St Kilda foreshore last night. Police officers were forced to use capsicum spray to control some beachgoers. Phone vision has emerged of police trying to control dozens of people. Abuse was hurled at officers. As the chaotic scene spilled onto busy Ackland Street near Luna Park.
Oh my God!
One trader told 7 News he was forced to close during the peak dinner rush because it became too violent.
Definitely harder for a business, you know, so we lost out on a few grand revenue from last night, but yeah, it was just our safety of our staff and customers and the locals here are amazing is more important than anything else. Later on the day there was bigger groups of people who've come over from the beach. As we were packing up, it was just mayhem out there.
Families should be able to go just down to the beach by themselves on a hot night and sort of enjoy and get an ice cream and look after the kids and fluff around. I think it's always a deterrent having police presence.
Police confirmed a number of violent incidents, including a carjacking and a stabbing, leaving a man in hospital this afternoon. A 14-year-old girl was arrested over a brawl on the beach.
Oh, look, it's sickening. Those women would have been absolutely terrified, and to have that happen was, absolutely atrocious behaviour.
There was like cars over here, like people bashing on cars. It was just, it got pretty nasty pretty quickly.
Police vow there will be a heavy police presence over the Christmas and New Year period. They will be taking a zero-tolerance approach to any antisocial behaviour.
Monash Health has been given the green light to take action against more than 90 nurses refusing to get the COVID-19 jab. The healthcare workers took urgent legal action to try to stop their employer from standing them down over the vaccine mandate. But to date, they lost their battle in the federal court, with a justice declaring their case was weak. It paves the way for Monash Health to discipline the staff. A curious parrot catching a bird's eye view of traffic in Brazil has decided to play some peekaboo. The inquisitive bird repeatedly peering into the lens of the security camera. The company posted the footage online, calling it a special visit. Up next, we return to Western Australia for more on the miracle discovery of missing 4-year-old Cleo Smith. New details on the suspect and how she was found.
One of the officers picked her up into his arms and asked her, "What's your name?" She said, "My name is Cleo."
And the city roars back to life with new pop-up shops in the CBD. We're back in just a couple of minutes.
Live from Melbourne, this is 7's Afternoon News with Mike Amor.
Returning to our top story now, 4-year-old Cleo Smith has been rescued by police 18 days after she went missing on a camping trip north of Perth. She was allegedly taken and hidden in a dilapidated house just 7 minutes' drive from her family's home. Police say a tip-off led them to her, ending a search they described as like looking for a needle in a haystack.
Almost 3 weeks after she disappeared from a campsite in the WA outback, 4-year-old Cleo Smith is this afternoon back with her parents, safe and sound. The man who's been arrested over her alleged abduction was a short time ago taken away from Carnarvon Police Station in the back of an ambulance. We don't know how it happened, but 7 News understands since his arrest he has somehow received an injury. We've been told there's blood in the cells here. The ambulance arrived at the police station just before noon local time and left just after midday, their patient in the back. 7 News can reveal that man is Terence Kelly, a long-time local, described as a loner who police locked up for questioning over the abduction of little Cleo Smith. After almost 200 sightings, all false alarms, it only took one correct tip-off to bring Cleo home. The massive statewide manhunt ended less than 2 kilometres from the police station where detectives were coordinating the desperate search, a search which had caught at the hearts of the nation and the world. Neighbours say Terry Kelly recently began acting differently, only appearing at night. The alarm was raised when someone allegedly noticed him purchasing nappies and wipes. 7 News understands Mr Kelly does not have children. In the end, it wasn't a spy plane or a phone tap. Old-fashioned police work played a big part in bringing Cleo home. Detectives received a tip-off and followed that lead to a locked house in Carnarvon. They broke their way in about 1 o'clock this morning and discovered a little girl inside. 7 News understands one of the officers picked her up and asked, "What's your name?" She replied, "My name is Cleo." The 4-year-old was reunited with her parents Ellie and Jake a short time later. They hadn't seen her since October 16, when they awoke at the Blowholes campsite to find Cleo gone. The family tent open higher than the little girl could reach. This is the outcome everyone has been hoping for. There's a lot unfolding right now. We will bring you an update at 6 o'clock.
Vacant shop fronts across the city have been transformed into new pop-up stores to help breathe life back into struggling shopping strips. Lord Mayor Sally Capp is on Little Collins Street this afternoon. Sally, what impact do you hope this will have?
Mike, we know that we expect for our city to be vibrant as people come back. Unfortunately, there have been some closures of businesses as a result of the pandemic. So this program is all about bringing that vibrancy, that activity back into our shop fronts, and we know that it's going to have major appeal.
Tell us about some of the businesses who are involved.
Well, it's so exciting to see young talent and people that have the resilience and ingenuity to keep going during this very difficult time. I'm here at the Millinery Collective with the most gorgeous hats. These are businesses that might not otherwise be in the city, wouldn't have a city presence, and we know they're also businesses that will delight people as they come back. We've got a lot of shops to fill, but we're really pleased with the number of businesses that are putting their hand up to come and create that vibrancy in our shop fronts.
Restrictions only eased on retail on Friday. Can you give us some insight into how many people are coming back into the city, Sally?
Yeah, we were so pleased with the results over the weekend, Mike. People did come in numbers. The average footfall over Saturday and Sunday was 80% of normal foot traffic. And given really it all started on Friday night at 6 p.m, they're really fantastic results. On Monday in Burke Street Mall, the foot traffic was at 70% of normal, and that's on a day that most people have taken a holiday. But I do know I was part of that foot traffic, doing my best for the local economy and making sure I had the appropriate attire for the races yesterday. It's really encouraging for our traders to see people coming back in those high numbers.
You've got to get the appropriate attire for Cup Day, don't you? What else is the city doing to help businesses get back on track and encourage people to come back to the CBD?
Yeah, well, look, our biggest initiative coming up is Melbourne Fashion Week, which starts on the 15th of November. It is about runway to retail to encourage people to have a fantastic experience in the city. But, Mike, there are so many initiatives, even Flash Forward, which is the rejuvenation of 40 of our laneways with new street art. Those have been underway during COVID so that we could really bedazzle people as they returned. There's that and so much to look forward to as we head into the Christmas extravaganza and Melbourne Music Week, and the list goes on and on. So we do encourage everybody to come in. There are always special offers and things that can entice and delight.
Yeah, it feels great that our city is finally coming back to life. Lord Mayor Sally Capp, appreciate your time.
Thanks, Mike.
Up next, a man injured in an explosion at Altona Meadows, and concerns kids are acting out a violent TV show at school. We're back soon here on 7. There's been an explosion at a property at Altona Meadows. It's understood a man was struck by flying metal as he tried to put out the fire in a shed containing ammunition. He suffered a shoulder injury. An electrical fault is being investigated as a possible cause. Schools have issued a warning over concerns children are watching a popular but violent new Korean series on Netflix called Squid Game. Gail McCarty from Parents Victoria joins me now. Gail, some students are replicating activities seen on the show. I haven't actually seen it, but they've been doing it in the schoolyard.
Look, Parents Victoria, like any parent organisation or any community organisation, and certainly schools, would be certainly concerned about how these type of things are replicated in the schoolyard, and that's not something that we really need right now, particularly as we're trying to get back into some sort of restored and routine world of life.
Yeah, absolutely. How serious have some of the reported incidents been?
Look, from our perspective, we've only actually heard it through word of mouth, that certainly even at the primary school level where young children are replicating some of the games. It was a bit concerning reading online about some of their presentations in hospitals in regard to scalding and burns around something coming off what they call the sugar honeycomb, one of the children's games that's played in the show. Obviously, even more concerning that it's not just children playgrounds that are replicating this phenomenon, but there are also there's real life games minus the killings being replicated around the world. Very disturbing behaviour from our perspective, because look, we just want children to be happy and safe at school.
Yeah, what should parents be concerned about, aware of, be looking out for?
Look, I think with any television show or Netflix series or any streaming of shows, that again, it's parental guidance is required. My understanding, Squid Game is for 16 plus and older. It's not for those primary age children. It's highly inappropriate, particularly because of the killing, etc. in it. And again, it's, parents always have to keep in mind, even though they may not allow their children to watch or view these type of programs, other children do get access, and they then go to school and talk about these things. And that's nothing new. That is something that does go on. So it's how we carefully equip our children with the appropriate strategies to be able to not engage in those things with other children, and just to say, look, I don't feel comfortable in playing that or wanting to do that. So again, it's how we give our children all the tools, and parents can't be across everything all the time, but we certainly should be very mindful about what they watch on television or any form of streaming.
To be a parent in 2021. Gail, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
No worries.
Up next, a win for a former policewoman convicted of stealing houses, and lotto jackpot, the hunt for 10 mystery millionaires here in Victoria. We're back soon here on 7. A former policewoman who stole houses from unsuspecting victims has had her prison term slashed. Rosa Rossi was originally jailed for 4.5 years for dishonestly claiming 6 vacant properties as her own. The Court of Appeal today ruled the penalty was manifestly excessive and shaved a year off her sentence. But the judges still condemned her crimes as breathtakingly dishonest. 10 Victorians have become multi-millionaires overnight and might not even know about it. The syndicate was one of 2 winning tickets in the $50 million Oz Lotto jackpot. Many members haven't registered. The lot says 8 members are in Greater Melbourne, another in Shepparton, and the final member in Warn Ponds. A Mackay woman is the other winner and gets to keep $25 million for herself. She says she plans to retire and help out her family. Let's take a quick look at Melbourne's roads right now.
Good afternoon, it's Hayley in the Chisholm Institute Traffic Chopper. Not great conditions to be driving on the roads this afternoon. We're taking a look at the Ring Road Altona bound. Our emergency services are attending a nasty collision. As you can see, most lanes are pretty much not getting through at all, causing massive delays over the EJ Whitten Bridge. The chase for new skills, new opportunities, even a new career starts right now at Chisholm. Chase your calling today. Search Chisholm and enrol now for 2022. Have a lovely afternoon and a better run on the roads.
Time for an update on the weather with Jane Bunn. Jane, we got a bit of a hint then. How does it look out there?
Well, Mike, after a warm and windy night and morning, we're now in this steady rain that has made it muggy. It was exceptionally warm overnight in the city. It was still up on 25 degrees in the early hours, only falling to 22.5. That's why it was so hard to sleep. We peaked at 25 in the gusty winds this morning, but then it's been 19 or 18 all afternoon. Here's why. The temperature dropped as soon as the rain arrived. It is steady, persistent rain that is giving all parts of Melbourne a moderate soak. It is incredibly muggy, so when the wind is light, it can feel several degrees warmer than it actually is. When Melbourne was 19, it was feeling like 22, currently 18 out there. We have a band of rain gradually crossing western, then central parts of the state, moving through the east tonight. In behind that band of rain, there are thunderstorms north of the ranges. Now, these bring the risk of heavy rain leading to flash flooding in the yellow areas you can see there through the northwest. Oyen picked up 27 millimetres in a short time. And this is exactly what that means. St Arnaud, a short time ago, streets suddenly underwater. With a high-pressure system out to our east, moist air is feeding down to us. When that runs into a trough, we get this band of rain. The trough is slow-moving, so the rain is too. It crosses eastern Victoria tomorrow. So the rain spreads to eastern parts of the state tonight. It keeps going over central districts, including Melbourne. But during the day tomorrow, here it is. The rain and storms are confined to these eastern areas. Then on Friday, the trough actually moves backwards, so the wet weather does too. Showers and thunderstorms spread back into central parts to end the week. Around the nation tomorrow, only a few millimetres for Sydney, while Canberra set for 20 to 45 millimetres. Hobart and Adelaide are dry tomorrow. To Victoria, these eastern districts have widespread rain in the morning. It breaks to hit and miss showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon and evening, all in through here. But the west and central parts of the state, all dry. Lots of sunshine tomorrow, very different to today. It is only the east that has the wet weather tomorrow. So in Melbourne, the rain, we've got it all through the night. Steady, soaking rain. That clears by dawn. We have a sunny day tomorrow. Only 19, though, no longer muggy. So the breezy southerly tomorrow will have all this sunshine, but it will feel cool.
OK, thankfully it won't be muggy. Thanks, Jane. Now, let's check in with Peter Mitchell, who's getting ready for 7 News at 6.
Thanks, Mike. Coming up at 6, special coverage of how little Cleo was found alive nearly 3 weeks after going missing on a family camping trip in WA. New details on the incredible moment police found the 4-year-old girl alone inside a locked house and how she's doing now. Also, Liberal MP Tim Smith defies calls from his leader to stand down at the next election. What that means for the opposition. We're live to St Kilda, where there's been more violence with mounted police called in. Why police are worried about warm summer nights. And if you're thinking about Christmas shopping already, we've got new data on how much you'll be spending. But the big story today is little Cleo, and we'll have the very latest from Carnarvon at 6 o'clock, Mike.
See you soon, Mitch. And that's all from Melbourne's afternoon news. Thanks for joining us. But for now, from the 7 News team, enjoy the rest of your afternoon.